All right, welcome back to the Homestand Show. We kicked James Sharman out of the studio to bring in our next guest. It's Noor Zainab.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. It's the
Noor?
day today.
I know.
Free
finally,
agency. Welcome, guys. Welcome all.
I should mention we are recording this a bit earlier, around 2:15 p.m. So news is probably going to drop between now and 6 p.m. when teams are allowed to negotiate with free agents. So we decided to do a bit of a prediction type of segment. We'll name some of the top free agents that are available, and we'll all go around the table and figure out where this person is going to land and how much money they're going to make. And I think we start with the Raptors, at least Fred VanVleet at the moment. Looks like he's going to Houston. That's the rumor.
4 years, $83 million.
83 million.
Yeah.
I also saw 2 years, $80 million. $40 million for Freddie V. Listen, if you can get that money, go and get that money. He's a guy who already has a ring, so he's like, listen, maybe I just need to get paid and be comfortable with the rest of my career and move on that way.
But as you guys know, his whole brand is built off bet on yourself.
And credit to him.
And
man.
what's he doing? He's betting on himself with this deal too. If he takes this 2-year, $40+ million deal per year, $80 million total, he's betting on himself, so in 2 years' time, he can get back into free agency, get another contract.
Well, the thing
just
with
as
that
big.
is the only thing I would say is, like, because of what we've heard him say with the Raptors, where he's complained very vocally about the lack of touches. And this is the Raptors team with no guards. You had a lack of depth when it came to guards.
Yep.
So if you want to go to Houston, he should be in the mindset of knowing that you're not there to run the ball and handle the ball. You are there now to make your money, and you're there because you bet on yourself and you're going to get a good payday out of it. Because if you're going to be on a team now, let's look at it. Jalen Green, Amin Thompson, you have still Eric Gordon.
Kevin Porter.
You have a bunch of guards and forwards. So he's going to have to share that ball, and he might not like it if he's there to hold the ball.
But do you think that maybe the money trumps all of that?
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying, though. What I'm saying is, like, if he's going there with the money and thinking he will get touches, both of those will not happen at the same time. So if you will take that money and know that this comes as more of a veteran role, as a observer and a leader of these young guys, then it makes sense. You're kind of babysitting almost,
getting
you know?
paid $40 million as a
babysitter.
But if they're paying him $40 million, they're surely going to be telling him that, hey, you're going to be the guy on this team.
No, he's not.
Right?
You've got Jalen Green and you just left off Amin Thompson. They can't literally. He cannot be the guy.
We'll see what happens.
Any other person they bring on, even with Harden, as they wanted Harden there, they wanted this version of Harden who's going to be now the playmaker, the facilitator. They want someone who can set these guys up and give them the proper direction. And once Ime Udoka came in, Ime Udoka actually was the one that took the franchise's direction into Fred VanVleet's hands and not Harden. Because I'm thinking, if they're bringing somebody over and if they want them to have the keys for this franchise, then it would be Harden. But if you bring somebody over to lead these guys, it'll be Freddie. Because if Harden's leading them, they're going to be at the strip club every single night. If it's going to be Freddie, it's going to be a whole different
Houston
time
fans
game, right?
love James Harden. They still haven't let that go. Like, that's
the
their
economy
guy.
goes right up when Harden's there. It's a
Houston
whole
has a lot of
different
cap space, man.
$60 million.
Yeah, right now. So they're leading the way in terms of that. Okay, so where do you think he lands? Is it Houston? Is it Toronto? Or is there a wild card out there?
So if I'm Freddie, I would go to Houston. I think, as you said, you've built your entire mantra up when it comes to bet on yourself. And everything that comes with betting on yourself, he's done. He was undrafted, got drafted, won the G League, was one of the final MVPs, came to the Raptors, won a championship there, became a guy that no one ever thought he was
Really
going to
impressive
be.
when you break it all down.
Exactly. So I feel like in terms of proving to himself and anybody out there, he's done that. So if he wants to go somewhere and now make a bag and set his family up, go on vacation, take a little easier role, this is the spot for him to do it. So that's what I would do if I'm him. But if he wants to stay at a spot where maybe he has a couple more years left to go and win something, he should go with the Raptors.
Win something.
He's not winning
game?
anything with the Rockets. At least with this Raptors team, he could be in the playoffs at least. Not with the Rockets.
If he wants to win something, who's his agent? Rich Paul? Find a way to get to the LA Lakers if you want to win something.
Justin, please.
Yeah, I don't know. Listen,
I'm just saying,
I will say this: he's not going to stay with the Raptors. I don't see the Raptors paying him more than $30 million. Like that, just not going to happen.
It's Houston.
It comes down to what he wants as well.
You know where he fits perfectly, and they would have to do a lot of cap maneuvering and probably like a sign and trade. Miami.
Yeah,
he fits there so well.
They need,
right?
Even I would say Bulls. He could go Miami.
I could see the
and
Bulls too.
that as well. I would
a bubble team that can make a run.
If the Clippers
and he's got chemistry with DeMar DeRozan too.
And if the Clippers weren't looking at James Harden right now, I would say Clippers as well for Freddie. I feel like any team that needs a guard right now would be a really good spot for it. He's one of the main guards out there if it weren't for Harden, who hopped it back in. So we'll see.
Yeah, I would like to see him in Miami. I'm with you guys. I think he goes to Houston. I have 3 years, about $120 million roughly. Let's go to your boy. Kyrie Irving.
My boy
who seems
Kyrie.
he's making up meetings, I think, with certain teams.
He's
right
doing
now with
it
the Suns.
for leverage, guys.
Where's he going?
I think it's pretty obvious Kyrie's going to stay in Dallas. Look, the Mavericks can offer him the most amount of money, a full max deal, but they don't want to if they're just bidding with themselves, right? So that's why Kyrie's taking these meetings with the Rockets and the Suns and stuff like that, just to try to build some leverage, because he has no leverage in
Yeah, but the
why
thing is, if we know this,
yeah.
then you have to believe Mark Cuban knows this as well.
But Houston has cap space. Right?
But it's not just that, though. I think it's the fact that Phoenix doesn't have any. If you're trying to leverage your contract, Phoenix is not the spot to do that. Because if you go to Phoenix, you're getting a pay cut anyway.
A sign and trade, though. They can do it. They could, for example, trade DeAndre Ayton. And there's like a proposed 3-team sign trade I saw online. DeAndre to Indiana, right? Kyrie to Phoenix, and then Buddy Hield and Miles Turner to Dallas.
That's a lot of
right?
details. They have
That's
four
a lot
players making a
but
buck
you can
60
make
right
it.
now in
You can
Phoenix.
make it's going to take a lot of work, but you could make it work. I do think, though,
the court.
I don't see him going anywhere else other than Dallas. They gave up a whole lot to get him. I think he stays in Dallas. He's just doing this for leverage to try to make sure he gets the most amount of money.
Seems that way. Nora, if you're KD, what are you thinking?
Stay away from me. Stop following me wherever I go.
That's
I
his
don't
boy,
want
though.
you here. I know, but like, how's that gonna work? Even if you bring Kyrie on, they have 4 guys on contract right now. They have no bench. Absolutely nobody out there. You let go of DeAndre Ayton, a guy that you need in the paint. You let him go, and you bring in Kyrie Irving, who's, let's just be honest about Kyrie Irving. Yes, he's a great shooter, great guy. Averaged about 27 points with the Dallas Mavericks in the 20 games that he was playing with them. But he's so much more off court than he's on court. So much more. And I think that's going to ruin whatever they have bubbling there right now. They already have a bunch of personalities in Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant. And bringing that Kyrie guy over, I think it's going to be too much for them. And you have 3 guys that need the ball at every single moment. And Bradley Beal, Devin Booker. I mean, even throw Kevin Durant in there and then Kyrie Irving and 1 ball. And it's just not going to work. So I think you're right. I think for me, he has to stay with the Dallas Mavericks. He also doesn't fit any other team's timeline. He's getting to a point where he's kind of older. He can't fit a younger team. He can't fit a team that wants to win something, because let's also be honest, no team trusts him anymore unless you're Mark Cuban and you bet on everything to bring him over.
You're also backed in the corner if you're Mark Cuban, because you made this big deal. And you kind of have to sign him now.
Exactly.
Otherwise,
Really,
it's kind of like
Yeah.
Jakob Poeltl. If Jakob Poeltl walks from the Raptors,
Yeah.
you gave up like a first-round pick to get him, and you leave him for nothing.
Yeah.
He only has him for 20 games.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So you think he stays with Dallas?
I think he stays there. Yeah, because if he signs with them, he gets what, 270. If he goes elsewhere, he signs 200. So he's losing out 70 million already. But on top of that, Justin said, I think they don't want to give him that much money.
Yeah.
So he's just showing them, yes, I got a market out there. And Mark Cuban's like, you're a liar. Show me.
Yeah,
and I don't
exactly.
think there's that much. out
I've
there, to
heard
be
the
honest.
Pelicans suggested.
Yes, I saw. I just see, like, the problem is I don't see how a team with
Makes
so
no
many
sense.
guards, it doesn't work.
Right.
It doesn't work.
It would be
Imagine
great.
that type of drama,
Yeah,
like Kyrie
him, Zion, and
Zion over
BI.
there
It would be
I would
Bananas?
again say Bulls, maybe, like, if he wants to head somewhere, they
Right.
need somebody, as maybe
Let's-
even Miami, but yeah.
Let's be real. Kyrie can still offer a lot. It's just the money and the baggage that he brings. Okay, Draymond Green. My take, I think he stays with Golden State now that Jordan Poole is gone.
Yes.
But if I were to throw maybe a flyer out there, I'm looking at maybe the Dallas Mavericks
Sacramento.
to go hang with Doncic and Kyrie Irving. Is there any, this is kind of off the board, I'll ask you, is there any way we see Doncic move at any time?
I think if this year goes wrong and goes bad, you could.
But you don't see that happening this season.
I think, and again, I was a believer in the Mavericks to the very end. Maybe that was to my own fault, right?
Yeah.
But I just think with a guy like Luka Doncic, man, he's such a great player, right? He's got that LeBron type of game to him where he can just do everything on the offensive side. Defensive, he's not going to give you anything, right? But let's see a full year of Luka and Kyrie. Let's see what they can do. Right? Do the Mavericks get a guy like Bruce Brown? Because, you know, if they can get a guy like Bruce Brown, pair him with a Tim Hardaway Jr., let's see what they can build there, right? I don't see Luka moving yet, but if this year goes badly once again, you could see something.
Could see something. Okay,
I feel
Draymond.
like, but Draymond too. Yeah, Draymond's staying. I don't think Draymond goes anywhere. And Draymond's made it very obvious too. He's like, I want to come back. This is my team. I want to stay here. Steve Kerr's come out and said it. The players have said it. And as you said, I think for me, the biggest indicator was when they shipped out Jordan Poole. I think they made their decision between who they're keeping and who they're letting go. And they know who Draymond is. Like, he's been with them for whatever. He was part of the dynasty. He knows his team, knows the roster, and he's just a very good glue guy to keep around. Where I think in any other team, he might be past his prime almost.
Exactly, yeah.
Because if he's going there to any other point, he's going to take a couple of times to like get used to it, get their roster going, understand what the team is like. And here he's the foundation, so he's rooted in there. So I think for him, best case is staying where you are, and this is also, I think, his best shot at contending once again. Where anywhere else he goes, I think it's going to be pretty much a wrap.
We've heard like Sacramento might make a run at him. I heard him and Dame are going to have conversations. Of course, the Lakers. But Draymond Green belongs in Golden State. That's where the most impact he will make is going to be, right? Yeah. That's him, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. They're going to try to go for one last run, one last kick at the can, and try to maximize their chance to go for title number 5. And I think Draymond will sign.
Klay can play again.
If Klay can play again. Now, here's the thing. If Draymond resigns, what happens to Klay Thompson after next year? Does he resign? This year is critical for Klay Thompson and what happens in his career going forward, because they were in on Bradley Beal, right? They end up bringing Chris Paul. I remember you mentioned they could still move off Chris Paul too. They might be a D'Angelo Russell situation where at the deadline they ship him off for some more depth and bench help. But I think as of right now, Draymond Green is probably going to re-up with the Golden State Warriors. I'd say a 3-year deal, 2 years plus an option.
Shows you how valuable he still is to a team who wants to win a championship. Do you think this is the final all-in year for Golden State heading into next season?
I think it was last year.
Last year?
It's this year.
I don't know. Steph Curry's still Steph Curry, man. You still have a chance to win.
But look at the Western Conference, dude. If the Clippers end up getting James Harden, it's wraps.
Kyrie Clippers get James Harden, though, the same question is still there. Can they stay healthy? Okay,
so we should probably touch on that. So James Harden did opt in with Philly, and apparently he's working on a deal where he can get traded out of there.
Yeah.
Where does he land?
Well, they're working on sides right now, both of them. They're trying to see where James Harden wants to land, where Philly can send him. And I think what the team that's emerging as the front runner right now is actually the LA Clippers. And it makes a lot of sense. I love the fit. If this was maybe James Harden 2-3 years ago, I'd say, what? 1 ball, 3 guys, that's how it's going to work.
Sounds like a bit of a nightmare, though, right?
It does, but if you look at James Harden the past year with Philly and how he really changed his role into becoming a facilitator and a playmaker and really putting his scoring in the backseat, he can really help guys like Paul George and Kawhi open up. They would have to lose Norman Powell in that deal, but having even Terrence Mann, somebody come up, they need a point guard to begin with, because they need to have that ball movement. And if James Harden can understand what his role is there, I think I really like what that look is.
I just can't buy the Clippers, because what are you going to get from Kawhi Leonard? What are you going to get from Paul George?
It's the injury factor, I know, but I think
so frustrating.
I think adding that depth though gives them a little bit of incentive.
They're going to deplete so much of their depth to get James Harden. You probably have to lose Covington, Batum, Powell.
I think you're losing not all 3. I think
you would have to make the money work.
But if James Harden wants to leave, they're kind of in a spot where they have to make that trade anyway. If you're Philly.
Maybe Chicago, right? If you can get James Harden to Chicago, that might work. Maybe you might have to parlay that with losing a guy like Zach.
But it also, again, it's the players' league. If James Harden pick where he wants to go, I think their hands are a little bit tied when it comes to Philly.
Daryl Morey also is a guy who, what they do, he waited to trade Ben Simmons, right? He didn't trade him right away, and that thing lasted almost a year.
But Daryl Morey is not a someone of a GM I want to look at and be like, yes, he's got
I'm just
his
saying,
head right
he
on.
can be stubborn. He can drag his heels
let's look
in the
at
mud.
Nick Nurse just went over there thinking he's about to treat the next duo in the Eastern Conference.
Once
and
Nick Nurse got there, James Harden was out of there. You did not want to.
I wonder what that means if he does get traded. What comes back to Philadelphia?
Yeah,
right.
Interesting.
Because you're going to need some players. But the reliance for the Clippers on those 3 players heading into next season just sounds like a recipe for disaster.
I would not want to rely on.
And Harden is not. Let's be honest. He's not a great playoff performer, right? If you get peak Kawhi and peak Paul George, watch out.
Exactly.
That's the biggest if in sports.
That's lightning in a bottle.
Kawhi Leonard's healthy. You don't even know if he's healthy.
We've 10 seconds left. Noor, you're the best. Thank you so much. That's it for our NBA free agency preview. We'll be back after the break to wrap up the show.